Hey there, everybody. Carson Grubaugh here. Welcome to Living the Line. We got it. Finally, we're back to Formalism Friday. So Brandon Graham has rejoined us. Sean's at the doctor's office, so he'll be joining us for the next one. And Brandon, it's nice to see you again, dude.
Yeah. Thanks for having me back on. Also, congratulations on the Eisner nomination for Strange Death.
Oh, yeah, thank you. I mean, we hope that we can focus that towards people reevaluating Dave and Cerebus. But it's cool to be part of it.
Yeah. I wonder. He's in a weird position because it's like nobody questions his craft. You know, so it's like, are we talking about him being good at comics, or are we talking about, you know, if you want him to, teaching your kindergarten class or whatever? Very
Well,
silly.
just the conversation about the book itself would be cool. But today for Formalism Friday, you brought a book that a lot of my students, speaking about teaching, not kindergartners, but some of them act that way. uh,
Shots fired.
a lot of my students are talking about this book, and you just found a copy laying around, Chainsaw Man.
Yeah, I was actually, I had a bunch of friends that were reading it. My friend Wyatt that writes Bolero over at Image has been talking it up for weeks to me now, and I'm really I have a I am generally uninterested in modern shonen comics just because I feel like they got really weighed down by a lot of um, the lot of populism of like Dragon Ball Z and One Piece and stuff. They read kind of slow and formulaic to me oftentimes. So
Yeah.
I'm always kind of a little sour when everyone wants to read any shonen stuff. But yeah, just a friend of mine was in town and she left a copy on my couch, so I started reading it and I was really impressed by it.
Yeah, I feel the same thing, especially when the students are like, "You got to check this out. You got to check this out." I'm like, "I don't know. You guys talk about Dragon Ball Z a lot, so a little
And even
skeptical."
Dragon Ball Z, I find merit in, but a lot of, I think it started a lot of stuff like stuff like Naruto and One Piece. I just can't click with because it feels like a lesser Dragon Ball to me.
Yeah, I just saw Ryan Holmberg, who's translating the Yokoyama Yuichi's Plaza for
Mhm.
Sean, and he was like, "Okay, I'm gonna read Naruto," and then later on he had a post that was like, volume 14, it's really starting to heat up. So I'm not going to read 14 volumes of this fucking book before like the story kicks in. So you there was a couple sequences in particular that stood out to you. Can you describe what it was?
Yeah, so I should mention that initially, uh, I this has a lot of very manga formalism. That there's something that I think it was like a Rumiko Takahashi, the Ranma artist. She does this
Hmm.
trick where sometimes characters have motivations more than they have personalities. You know, like a
Okay.
Taru and Yotsuru Yatsura is basically just he's just like a pervert, and that's his personality. And then she kind of plays with that a little bit, but it's not autobiographical or anything. And I think it breaks in this, but the main character is the blonde guy you see on the bottom of this page. He's basically just like he's paying off his father's debts and selling his organs and like killing different demons and everything. And that's kind of his entire motivation is this very simple survival. And I'm interested to see where it goes in that. But what I liked about this one, when I got really caught up on the formulas of this one, is just like it's this really simple conversation between him and this guy who's been put in charge of him and as like demon hunters. And I really liked how the artist used the crowd here to kind of show the environment they're in and turn what could be a like they could be sitting on the steps of a building and it could be the super boring conversation, but over the I think it's a 3-page scene, and I think it's just really cool how it shows how they are in this environment.
And moving through it. Like I especially like sitting here looking at this first, like this tier of panels on this first page that you had us look at, how he, I'm assuming the artist is a he, apologies if not, but how the artist has like the characters in lockstep for the first two, and then the other one like drops behind. I really like that bit of kind of motion acting as well. Like he's thought about what is said and it's just like, oh fuck. And it's like, whoa, wait up. Like that's a really nice bit.
Yeah, it's an example of using And it's especially on on the next couple pages, an example of using the environment to kind of tell the story, because as they get farther apart in the crowd, they can't hear each other anymore.
Mm.
So I think on the last page, on the next page here, he's talking and the other guy is like, "What'd you say?" I think that's a
Oh,
cool
yeah.
example of like if it was just them sitting next to each other, you wouldn't get that. And something I always try to remind myself when I'm making my own comics is to have the characters engage with the environment. Like, is there like what's around them that they can also be interacting with or talking about while kind of moving the plot along.
Yeah, and it is really subtle and like almost unnecessary to the story to have that moment of what do you say, but more natural in a way. Like you said, you could do them just sitting on the steps and get all the same story I mean, I'd have to read it through to make sure, but there's something about him pausing and like getting lost that adds a lot of oomph to it for me.
Yeah, and it's a subtle character moment too, because it makes the dark haired guy look so much more like driven. He has a place to go, and the other guy's kind of caught in his thoughts and lagging behind.
Yeah, then that's the kind of like slow subtlety that I'm really having to learn to pick up on from manga that I don't think, it's not so natural to us coming from like the superhero Western comics background. And then there was one other, let's get the other page up here. Uh, and then this scene from it as well, you liked.
Oh yeah, so this is immediately after that scene, and I really like. I mean, it does a lot of the similar things, but it doesn't like. I really like that this doesn't advance the plot at all, but it just gives you more character. So you see the light haired guy has just made like the grossest mess of the dark haired guy's like pristine clean apartment by making the best toast ever.
Yeah, it's the best damn piece of bread ever.
And then it does this jump, like this is the next page right after that, and you just see that he like these two sequences of just the dark haired guy kind of putting up with the light haired guy just being obnoxious to live with.
And that expression on the last page, the bottom right there.
Yeah,
Just like,
yeah, it's him like not leaving the bathtub and not leaving the toilet and how he's got to put up with him.
yeah. I really, really like the more I stared at it while we were getting ready for this episode. I really like this big panel in the middle here, because it's something I'm thinking about a lot for my next comic. Is someone who has a super organized house,
Mhm.
and seeing that again, the rhythmic repetitions of. I wish my pointer could point at it. I don't think it's showing up on screen, but like the sugar, the rice, and the flour jars, and then there's the spices lined up, and there's the calendar behind it on the wall, and just all of that organizational stuff is really, really compelling to me right now. And then yeah, you see like all around it the chaos.
Yeah, and you notice
um,
the dark haired guy's hair sticking out of the panel. It was a really good trick for pointing him out, like so he doesn't fall in with the detail of the background.
yeah, and it like fits into the organization almost too well, so easy to ignore, like fits into that like little rectangle right behind him.
Yeah, it's almost, but it works almost like an arrow. It's like the dark hair on the big central panel is like this is this guy here, and then when you see the larger bottom left panel, it's almost just like this is the same guy. Just so you know, it's like it's such a good shorthand.
Well, and compositionally too, reading from right to left, you go like down across, and then that is the like go down here next arrow.
Hmm.
Yeah, and then it works as a directional thing pointing you. Well, I guess you'd be reading right to left, so it points you off to the next page or off
Yeah,
the page.
it's a good
Yeah,
trick.
that's cool. All right, well, I'm gonna have to now. My students and you have convinced me. I'm gonna have to start checking out Chainsaw Man, and apparently Fire Punch. I think this is the same artist that did Fire Punch.
Oh yeah, yeah, I'd heard about that as well.
So,
Yeah, so I'm interested in. It's always exciting when you discover a new artist, and and I think the older we get, it's harder sometimes to to kind of let new stuff in. So it's a good example of I enjoy being wrong. You know.
yeah, yeah, and especially for me, like I said, if it comes from the students, I'm a little more hesitant. They're usually right, but for some reason, I'm like, nah, you're all just reading Naruto. This is the same thing. Um, yeah, and it's easy to feel like we've seen it all or something, I guess.
Certainly, yeah.
Like every time I talk to you, you're always got one more thing to grab that you're like, have you seen this? Have you seen this?
Yeah, there's so many good comics out there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All
and
right. Well,
sorry, what were you saying?
no, go ahead.
I was gonna say it's a good lesson to us that like we can spend our whole lives kind of digging around and reading comics, but there's always kind of new stuff to discover. Like I always get frustrated when I interact with people and they're just like, oh, there's nothing good. There's no good comics, and I'm like, well, have you read Little Abner? You know, there's so many weird things that that you can spend a lifetime engaging with this and never connect with.
Well, and I was saying that before we started recording too, is that the more me and Sean do this, the more we're constantly getting recommendations and like finding out about, oh, this amazing thing that has never been translated, or this amazing thing that's out of print and will never go back in print. And yeah, it almost becomes overwhelming. Like I feel obligated to know it all.
Certainly.
Like I think you have that too. Like you have this, it seems like you're constantly, okay, I got to get this, I got to get this.
Yeah, it also makes you very dismissive of some stuff. Like someone will be like, check out this book, and you'll just like, you know, pick it up and just be like, not for me, you know.
Yeah. That's another thing that's good about if people that you respect are like, hey, you need to check this out. Or I do those grab bag things too, where I'll have the comic shop send it to me because it's like, well, shit, I paid for it now. And yeah, there's some books like Gareth Brooks. I don't know if you've seen his stuff. They sent me, Menachem sent me The Dancing Plague, and that's a book that if I flipped through it, just the art, I would have been like, not for me. But when I read it, yeah, check out Gareth Brooks. I just did an interview with him. I don't know when it will be up, but
it's one of those things that I'm going to bring up and be like, oh, this is my favorite thing.
Yeah, his shit is amazing. And it's totally a book that if I would have just flipped through it, I probably would have said, oh, the art's too crude for me or something. But like when you read it, you're like, oh, well, there's a reason the art looks the way it does. And
oh, interesting. You did mention this. Also, I like how when I bring up his name, how many images of Garth Brooks come up as well. I wonder if him formulating as an artist was influenced at all by having to constantly be picked on with Garth Brooks jokes his entire life.
No, he's from like South London, so I don't think that was as big of a cultural phenomenon in his youth, hopefully.
Oh, this is fascinating stuff. Yeah, it does look very unlike anything. I mean, it definitely looks unique. It looks like it's something from the Middle Ages.
Yeah, and he's doing it all with like burning. It's all burnt or stitchery.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and he has another one that's like done with wood block cuts and stitchery, and it's all about a kid stitching, like knitting himself fuck dolls.
That's terrifying. I like that this guy's found a way. He's like, comics are too easy. How can we make it harder?
Yeah, it's really good stuff. But anyways, we're way off topic. Thanks for joining us, guys. Make sure to like, smash that subscribe button, and ring that bell.